Are AI advancements already slowing down?
AI breakthroughs have been a question of when, not if.
Google unveiling long-awaited new details about its large language model Gemini.
Claude 3, it is arguably now one of the most powerful AI models out there, if not the most powerful.
Preview, if you will, for us ChatGPT 5.
I expect it to be a significant leap forward.
But what if that core assumption that models can only keep getting bigger and better is now fizzling?
Is there really a slowing in progress, because that wasn't expected?
It could spell cracks in the NVIDIA bull story.
We're increasing GPUs at the same rate.
It was obvious that NVIDIA was massively overvalued. Anybody could have seen that. A company being overvalued doesn't mean that AI is bad.
But we're not getting the intelligence improvements out of it.
Calling into question the gigantic
And also,
ramp.
you keep in mind that NVIDIA is undervalued at probably the lowest point in their product offering cycle. Like, they're going to bring out a 5090 at some point. It's going to happen. And then the stock is going to go up, probably.
And spending from Amazon, Google, Microsoft. A rush for tangible use cases and a killer app.
January, who knows?
I'm Deirdre Bosa with the Tech Check Take. Has AI progress peaked?
AI performance anxiety? Oh, God.
Call it performance anxiety. The growing concern in Silicon Valley that AI's rapid progression is losing steam.
We've really slowed down in terms of the amount of improvement.
Reached a ceiling and is now slowing down.
In the pure model competition, the question is, when do we start seeing a asymptote to scale?
Hitting walls that even the biggest players, from OpenAI to Google, can't seem to overcome. Progress didn't come cheap. Billions of dollars invested to keep pace, banking on the idea that returns, they would be outsized too. But no gold rush is guaranteed to last, and early signs of struggle are now bubbling up at major AI players.
I think that the other big issue is that as soon as any new technology comes out, and this is what happened with NFTs, it's what happened with crypto, and it's what happened with AI, and it's also what happened with the internet. Basically, like, you had a massive, kind of market, like a readjustment, because everybody puts their money into this. Everybody thinks it's going to go fucking, to the moon, and then it doesn't. Yeah, you need time to play out. Exactly. Yeah, you have a market reset. And so, just because something's experiencing a market reset, because people are just investing more money thinking that it was just going to multiply by 10x, it doesn't necessarily mean that the industry's bad.
First indication that things are turning, the lack of progression between models.
I expect that the delta between 5 and 4 will be the same as between 4 and 3.
Each new generation of OpenAI's flagship GPT models, the ones that power ChatGPT, they have been exponentially more advanced than the last in terms of their ability to understand, generate, and reason. But according to reports, that's not happening anymore.
Maybe one of the reasons why it's not happening anymore is the same reason why video game graphics aren't getting that much better anymore. It's because it's already very good. You can't make 20% advancements when you're already 90% of the way there. The AI is already very good. So fine-tuning and making that better and making it approach a simulated human experience, you're going to have, it's kind of like in a video game, right? Where you have diminishing returns, or the old 80-20 rule, where you make 80% of your progress in 20% of your time, and you spend the other 80% of your time making the remaining 20% of the progress. Almost everything follows a function like this.
Talk prior to now that these companies were just going to train on bigger and bigger and bigger systems. If it's true that it's top, that's not going to happen anymore.
OpenAI has led the pack in terms of advancements. Its highly anticipated next model, called Orion, it was expected to be a groundbreaking system that would represent a generational leap in bringing us closer to AGI, or artificial general intelligence. But that initial vision, it's now being scaled back. Employees who have used or tested Orion told the information that the increase in quality was far smaller than the jump between GPT-3 and 4, and that they believed Orion isn't reliably better than its predecessor at handling certain tasks like coding.
To put in perspective, remember, ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022. So now it's been, close to 2 years. And so you had initially a huge ramp up in terms of what all these new models can do. And what's happening now is you've really trained all these models, and so the performance increases are kind of leveling off.
The same thing may be happening.
It obviously is going to level off. Like, you think about the difference in graphics quality between the Super Nintendo and, like, the N64 and the N64 to the GameCube, and then look at the difference between the Wii U to the Switch. Not that big of a difference.
At other leading AI developers. The startup Anthropic, it could be hitting roadblocks to improving its most powerful model, the Opus, quietly removing wording from its website that promised a new version of Opus later this year. And sources telling Bloomberg that the model didn't perform better than the previous versions as much as it should, given the size of the model and how costly it was to build and run. These are startups focused on one thing, the development of large language models with billions.
Focused on one thing, getting people to invest in their startup. That's what they're focused on. Getting more people to give them money.
Of dollars.
Let's be honest.
Backing from names like Microsoft and Amazon and venture capital. But even Google, which has enough cash on hand to buy an entire country, it may also be seeing progress plateau.
The current generation of LLM models are roughly, few companies have converged at the top. But I think we're all working on our next versions too. I think the progress is going to get harder. When I look at 25, the low-hanging fruit is gone. The curve, the hill is steeper.
Its principal AI model, Gemini, is already playing catch-up to OpenAI and Anthropic's.
Yeah.
Now Bloomberg reports, quoting sources, that an upcoming version is not living up to internal expectations.
It has to make
Probably set expectations too high. That's the issue. Google has the worst AI model. For me, the AI almost always delivers accurate answers, but I think it's going to be different for everyone.
Think, okay, are we going to go through a period here where we're going to need to digest all this hundreds of billions of dollars we've spent on AI over the last couple of years, especially if revenue forecasts are getting cut or not changing, even though you're increasing the spending you're doing on AI.
The trend has even been confirmed by one of the most widely respected and pioneering AI researchers, Ilya Sutskever, who co-founded OpenAI and raised $1 billion seed round for his new AI startup.
As you scale up pre-training,
there it is, $1 billion. That's a lot of fucking money.
A lot of the low-hanging fruit was plucked.
Do you think that the censorship of AI kind of caused the problem? I do think that. So people want an AI to work the way that they want the AI to work. They don't want to have some nerd in California making the rules for what you can tell the AI to do or not do. It's like when you buy a hammer in Home Depot, you don't want them to, tell you how you can and can't use the hammer. AI is simply a tool. So if you don't let people use the tool in the way that they want, well, then you're going to have a lot of people get angry. Tell a racist joke, exactly. Because people have no use and no interest in having an AI that's just going to feed them propaganda and not tell them what the truth is. The entire function of AI is so you can understand what's going on in the world. So if the AI isn't creating that outcome, then the AI is useless. It's that simple.
And so it makes sense to me that you're seeing a deceleration in the rate of improvement.
It's like, for example, imagine how unpopular Photoshop would be if it could automatically detect that you're using copyrighted images and then not allow you to edit or modify them. Nobody would ever use Photoshop. It would have never popped off. So you can't do that. That's not the function of AI. It's a bastardization of AI is used outside of science. Yeah, sure.
Everyone agrees the rate of progress has peaked.
Foundation model pre-training scaling is intact, and it's continuing. As you know, this is an empirical law, not a fundamental physical law. But the evidence is that it continues to scale.
Nothing I've seen in the field is out of character with what I've seen over the last 10 years or leads me to expect that things will slow down.
There's no evidence that the scaling has
laws, as they're called, have begun to stop. They will eventually stop, but we're not there yet.
And even Sam Altman posting simply, there is no wall. OpenAI and Anthropic, they didn't respond to requests for comment. Google says it's pleased with its progress on Gemini and has seen meaningful performance gains and capabilities like reasoning and coding.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Let's get to the why.
I feel like this is always what's happened. Like, think about for video quality on YouTube, for example. Video quality on YouTube and video quality on the internet pretty much peaked about 10 years ago. Like, as soon as we hit 1080p, everything else after that was kind of just icing on the top. It's not the same. Yeah, 4K. Yeah, but 4K isn't a big enough. So this is the difference. 4K theoretically is much better. But I don't think it's that big of a difference for most people. It's really not. It's the human eye's limitations. Exactly. You don't need 4K to play a video game.
If progress is in fact plateauing, it has to do with scaling laws. The idea that adding more compute power and more data guarantees better models to an infinite degree. In recent years, Silicon Valley has treated this as religion.
One of the properties of machine learning, of course, is that the larger the brain, the more data we can teach it, the smarter it becomes. We call it the scaling law. There's every evidence that as we scale up the size of the models, the amount of training data, the effectiveness, the quality, the performance of the intelligence
Why is the
improves.
bottom flashing?
In other words, all you need to do is buy more NVIDIA GPUs, find more articles or YouTube videos or research papers to feed the models, and it's guaranteed to get smarter. But recent development suggests that may be more theory than law.
People call them scaling laws. That's a misnomer, like Moore's law is a misnomer. Moore's law, scaling laws, they're not laws of the universe. They're empirical regularities.
Yeah.
I am going to bet in favor of them continuing, but I'm not certain of that.
The hitch may be data.
Yeah, this is the issue. Is that, and also I think it's a lot of people that are speculating in the market and spending a bunch of money investing into AI, the same as they invested into crypto and NFTs. Like, do you guys remember how overvalued crypto stuff was and NFT stuff was in like 2021? It was massively overvalued. Now, the difference is that AI does have an actual function that's meaningful, but in a lot of cases, most other places don't. The crypto is back. Bitcoin is back. Bitcoin is doing really well, but you're not seeing crypto get minted in the same way that it used to. That's definitely not what's happening.
Key component of that scaling equation, but there's only so much of it in the world, and experts have long speculated that companies would eventually hit what is called the data wall. That is, run out of it.
If we do nothing, and if, at scale we don't continue innovating, we're likely to face similar bottlenecks in data like the ones that we see in computational capability and chip production or power or data center build-outs.
So AI companies have been turning to so-called synthetic data, data created by AI, fed back into AI, but that could create its own problem.
AI is an industry which is garbage in, garbage out. So if you feed into these models a lot of AI gobbledygook, then the models are just going to spit out more AI gobbledygook.
The information...
Yeah, he's right. Of course. Yeah, 100%. There's such limitations such as technology, data centers. Oh, yeah, of course, right? But that's always what's going to happen.
Reports that Orion was trained...
Like, in my opinion, I think AI is probably going to slow down in its advancement for obvious reasons. But in a general sense, I mean, you're going to see it continue getting better over time.
In part on AI-generated data produced by other OpenAI models.
Yeah.
And that Google has found duplicates of some data in the sets used to train Gemini. The problem? Low-quality data, low-quality performance.
Yeah.
This is what a lot of the research that's focused on synthetic data is focused on, right? So if you don't do this well, you don't get much more than you started with.
But even if the rate of progress for large language models is plateauing, some argue that the next phase, post-training or inference, will require just as much compute power. Databricks CEO Ali Ghodsi says there's plenty to build on top of the existing models.
I think lots and lots of innovation is still left on the AI side. Maybe those who expected all of the ROI to happen in 2023, 2024 maybe they should readjust their horizons.
The place where the industry's
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, and this is the thing, is that it's what I said before, right? It's that people are betting on AI turning into Skynet or turning into Blade Runner in like 3 years. That's really what people are betting on happening, because it's like the main things that get the most investment and they get the most money are the things that have very uncertain but very high ceilings. So again, like crypto, NFTs, the internet back in the day, anything like that that you can't really predict where it's going to go, like social media as well. Like social media also experienced a pretty big kind of like recession in its growth, especially with Facebook, for example, because it hits that saturation point where everybody that wants to have Facebook already does or chose not to. It's speculative value. Yeah, it's all speculative value. And I think that's really the difference of what happens in a lot of cases. Do you think AI will replace programmers? I think that AI will replace 80% of work, where the remaining 20% of employees will fill in the gaps and make the AI more functional. I don't think that AI will replace a lot of people, but what it will do is it will probably take a team of 10 and it will turn that into 2 or 3 people and then have the function of AI fill in the gaps in between. That's what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to completely replace people, but it will allow teams to function and be able to do the same thing with less people. Yeah, it's maintenance, right? That's what I think is going to happen. For programming, not yet. I've heard a lot of people say that programming AI is not great. But I think that obviously it will probably just get better over time. Yeah, sure. That's a lot of fucking people, though. Exactly. That's why I think UBI is necessary. Yeah. It's complete shit. So here's a good example. And also, like, AI is only one form of automation. So, like, the best example is that WoW used to have a system where you needed to fill out a GM ticket and have a GM talk to you to have them restore an item to you. And then they added a system into the game that allowed people to just use the website to do it themselves. And I think that, like, it's the same thing as self-checkout. It's the same thing as, like, I'm thinking, like, yeah, self-checkout, like the item restoration. There are plenty of kind of like serve yourself type systems that they have now. And all of those things remove jobs as well. Flippy, yeah, ATMs. ATMs are a great example. Like, if you go to an ATM instead of talking to a bank teller, you effectively are contributing towards automation. And so I think that's really where it's coming from. AI will need to improve a lot to code properly. Yeah, of course. For sure. But what I think will happen is that in the same way that, like, you have procedural generation systems that are able to, like, add in a bunch of stuff really fast, there were people that used to have to do that job. Now they don't have to do that job. That's what's going to happen. But of course, it's not going to just remove everybody, and it's just like a whole, like, it's not like there's going to be like a things made completely by robots.
Squeezing to get
driving jobs in 20 years. Oh yeah, no. It will probably be, whenever we are really, really old, it will be illegal to drive a car. It might take a little bit longer, but I think it will happen. It will be illegal to drive a car. Will, are you dumb? Yeah. Well, let's explore the type of thinking. Yes. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't agree. No. Why? We'll see what happens. We'll see what he says. Professional driving enthusiast. Yep. I'll give him a minute. It's okay. Robots are better drivers. Yeah. What about the insurance companies? Great question. Amazing question. Probably the best argument against this being true. The insurance companies will ensure this isn't true, so people will still die in car wrecks so they can make money. That's actually probably the best argument against what I'm saying that I've ever heard. Yeah. AI insurance. Do we have any example? No, we don't. And, okay, so that's it. But yes, driving your own car will be illegal in the future. And the amount of money tickets generate for states. Yeah, exactly, right? How much resources are being put into roads? No, I don't think it will be illegal to drive. No. So you're not understanding why it's going to be illegal to drive. So basically, the reason why it will become illegal to drive is because a lot of cars will then become self-driving. Cars that have a self-driving mechanism have a much high, like, you don't have the same type of traffic slowdowns. You don't have the same type of problems because all of the cars can exist as like an ecosystem that react in real time to different changes in traffic and the amount of people that are around. So when you have an entire system of people, or sorry, an entire system of machines that are working in concert with each other, if you put a human being inside of that system, it will cause the system to malfunction. So the reason why it will be illegal to drive your own car is that, number one, it will become more dangerous. I think that self-driving cars, whenever everybody is self-driving, it will also result in a net reduction in speed, because you won't need to drive as fast because you will have less random slowdowns and less traffic stops. And there will be less functions that you need to actually react to. So that's one reason why. And so obviously if the car is moving slower, there's going to be a lower chance of you being hurt when the car crashes. Also, if cars can detect each other, like you guys have probably, like a lot of us here, we're like in our 30s, right? Like, 20s, 30s, maybe some 40s, right? Y'all remember back whenever we were kids learning how to drive. And like you didn't have the mirror in the back, right? Or like the camera in the back. You didn't have these like weird things that, like, if somebody gets too close to the car automatically stops, right? It didn't put a light on. All of these things are technological advancements that indicate that a car is better at detecting its own surroundings around you. And there have been times where the car has detected something that I wasn't aware of. Have you ever had this happen? Yeah, I've rolled up window manually. Yep, I had to do that too. I had 2 cars that were like that. No, I have. And so anyway, and yeah, you can look at, for example, automatic versus manual transmission. So what's going to happen is that blind spot detection every day. Okay, well maybe, okay, if it's happening every day, you need to pay attention. But anyway, so the reason why is because the cars are going to become so useful and they're going to become so effective at mitigating risk because they have every other variable in the system of the cars is accounted for and calculated. And therefore, it will become illegal to drive your own car because if you do, then now you could fuck up that entire system. That's what's going to happen. And it will be done in the best interest of safety. Again, clip it. Clip it. I don't want to... everybody's going to say I'm crazy. Clip it. We'll come back to it in 50 years. Yep. We'll see what happens. It's logical. It is logical. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. Remind me in 50 years.
To get that progress is shifted from pre-training, which is, lots of internet data, maybe trying synthetic data on huge clusters of GPUs, towards post-training and test-time compute, which is more about, smaller amounts of data, but is very high quality and very specific.
Feeding data, testing different types of data, adding more compute, that all happens during the pre-training phase when models are still being built before it's released to the world. So now companies are trying to improve models in the post-training phase. That means making adjustments and tweaks. Somebody
made a point. What about airplanes? Would you trust AI flying planes? If I'm not wrong, there is a form of autopilot that planes now are using at this very moment. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. All right.
To how it generates responses to try and boost its performance. And it also means a whole new crop of AI models designed to be smarter in this post-training phase.
OpenAI just announcing an improved model, their AI model. They say it has better reasoning. This had been reportedly called Strawberry, so there's been a lot of buzz around it.
They're called reasoning models, able to think before they answer, and the newest leg in the AI race.
We know that thinking is oftentimes more than just one shot. And thinking requires us to maybe do multi-plans, multiple potential answers that we choose the best one from. Just like when we're thinking. We might reflect on the answer before we deliver the answer. reflection. We might take a problem and break it down into step by step by step.
Okay.
Chain of thought.
Okay. Sure.
If AI acceleration is tapped out, what's next? The search for use cases becomes urgent.
Just in the last multiple weeks, there's a lot of debate, or have we hit the wall with scaling laws? It's actually good to have some skepticism.
Yeah, big surprise. CEO of Microsoft. Yeah, we hit the wall. No, guys, come on. Come on, that's not what's happening.
Some debate, because that I think will motivate, quite frankly, more innovation.
Because we've barely scratched the surface of what existing models can do.
The models are actually so powerful.
Yeah, every time I hear somebody talk about how we didn't actually hit the wall and underneath their name it says CEO, I'm like, uh-huh. Oh, okay. For sure. Yeah, it's, you know...
Today,
I don't know.
And we've not really utilized them to anywhere close to the level of capability that they actually offer to us and bring true business transformation.
OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, they're making some of the most compelling use cases yet.
OpenAI is getting into the search business.
Anthropic unveiling a new AI tool that can analyze your computer screen and take over to act on your behalf.
One of my favorite applications is Notebook LM. You know, this Google application that came out. I used the living daylights out of it just because it's fun.
But the next phase, the development and deployment of AI agents, that's expected to be another game changer for users.
I think we're going to live in a world where there are going to be hundreds of millions of billions of different AI agents, eventually probably more AI agents than there are people in the world.
Is this guy going to be the next Trump with this shit around his eyes and his face? Like, I mean, is he getting skincare tips from Trump? What are we doing here? He went skiing? Oh.
I spoke with NVIDIA after the call. They said, Jim, you better start thinking about how to use the term agentic when you're out there.
Right.
Because agentic is the term.
Benioff's been using it for a while.
He's very agentic.
Yeah. You can have health agents and banking agents and product agents and ops agents and sales agents and support agents and marketing agents and customer experience agents and analytics agents and finance agents and HR agents. And it's all built on this Salesforce platform.
Meaning,
this is how many of y'all have called in somewhere and you had to go through a AI? Like, I know you guys, like, anytime that I use a program that is like, okay, I need to talk to customer support, and I click a button and I'm instantly talking to customer support, and it's like, this is Jason. No, this isn't Jason. This is 365143B. Okay? Like, it's not Jason. You're not fucking Jason. Shut the fuck up. It's a robot.
All powered by software.
Everybody's talking about when is AI going to kick in for software. It's happening now.
Well, it has to be.
It's not a future thing. It's now.
It's something the stock market is already...
Well, here's a really soft version of this. A very soft version of it is having the, like, voice packs for navigation. You know how they have, like, the Snoop Dogg, I think, navigation voice pack? And like different people that like tell you where to go and driving. Like, that's a very, very rudimentary version of what I think people are going to use for everyday life.
Already taking note of. Software stocks seeing their biggest outperformance versus semis in years. And it's key for NVIDIA, which has become the most valuable company in the world and has powered broader market gains.
It's hard for me to imagine that NVIDIA...
I think NVIDIA is overvalued. I don't think it's the most valuable company in the world. And I think that that's just a total... It's a total overcorrection by people that are just trying to capitalize on the next biggest, best thing. Like, I think it's very valuable. It's extremely valuable, but it's not bigger than, like, Walmart or Amazon or fucking Google.
Grow as fast as people are modeling.
It's a hype train, yeah.
And I see that probably as a problem at some point when you get into next year and NVIDIA shipping Blackwell in volume, which is their latest chip, and then the vendors can say, okay, we're getting what we need, and now we just need to digest all this money that we've spent because it's not scaling as fast as we thought in terms of the improvements.
We got some guy with some stock in NVIDIA.
The sustainability of the AI trade hinges on this debate. OpenAI,
XAI,
Meta, Anthropic,
guys,
and Google,
no.
they're all set to release new models over the next 18
No,
months.
I got big money in this. No, bro.
Their rate of progress, or lack of it, could redefine the stakes of the race.
Yeah. It's going to the moon, guys. I'm an AMD stockman myself. They had a new Gemini model 2.0 and quantum chips. Yeah, I think really what's going to happen is that if you have AI, I think also that the push to have AI censored and regulated also kind of, I think it put a lot of people, like it put a lot of people's interest of AI on ice, and it made them less interested, especially when people have like all of these instances of AI that's returning data that's biased and inaccurate. I think that's a very, very big problem. And I think that for average people, again, they don't want AI telling them what to think. They just want AI doing something. That's it. Pee-wee 2 in-game today? Yeah, I might do a little bit of that. Give me 1 second. I'll link you guys the video. FBI director announces his resignation. Oh boy, oh boy. Well, I think that makes sense. I mean, obviously, you know, when Trump comes in, he's going to replace probably fucking everybody. So that's kind of what I would expect. I wonder why. Yeah, what could possibly be the reason? Give me 1 second. China models are less censored than Western models. Well, then if that's true, China is going to be... people are going to use Chinese AI. I'll be right back. Sorry. We will look at this.